They laughed. High above the jungle moon Karzak 3, in the polished glass conference hall of Dominion Station Virex, representatives of 23 species shared drinks and disdain. A hologram flickered midroom, projecting grainy footage of a human brawl inside a Terran penal colony. 2 inmates smashed into each other with fists and bloody teeth. One bit off a finger. The aliens roared. "Primitive," muttered High Executor Tellern, his frills twitching in amusement. "They breed chaos. No sense of hierarchy," a Vel diplomat added, her wings fluttering. Commander Zeltak let the laughter ride out before standing. His uniform bore the Varn Dominion seal, order, structure, Dominion. He raised a hand. The room fell quiet. "Gentle beings, your amusement is not misplaced," he began, voice clipped and clear. "But what you see is not just undisciplined rage. It is opportunity." A pause. Zeltak activated a new projection, schematics of Karzak 3, a dense, venomous jungle world quarantined after failed colonization. Its skies were toxic, terrain unstable, and flora bioluminescent at night. Below that, dozens of red markers blinked. "High-risk prisoners. My proposal," he continued, "is simple. Rather than waste credits containing such creatures, we test them. Drop the worst of the worst, Terrans included, into a controlled zone on Karzak 3. No weapons, no support. Survival is the test. Execution by ecosystem," someone whispered. Zeltak smiled. "Evolution through attrition." The board approved unanimously. Entertainment, data, deterrence. A win-win. Especially if the humans died first. Aboard Justice Rend, the cold of cryostasis lifted slowly. Prisoners awoke not in cells, but in individual pods, rattling, shaking. A siren screamed over comms in every known language. Drop initiated. Survival parameters active. Fatalities acceptable. Panic spread like fire. An insectoid convict thrashed inside its restraints. A quadruped screamed curses in broken trade common. A burly Terran with prison tattoos punched the glass of his pod and sobbed. In pod #9A, Irina Volkov opened her eyes. No panic. No breath wasted. Just a calm scan of her restraints. Her pod hissed, depressurized, and released. She exhaled. Commander Zeltak watched from the command deck, surrounded by flickering monitors. Each showed real-time feeds from surveillance drones tracking the descending pods. His officers barked updates. 38 confirmed landings. 4 pods compromised. Atmospheric rupture. Life signs stabilizing. Subject 9A, human, missing from all visuals. Zeltak frowned. How does one go missing in open descent? She may have landed in deep canopy, Commander. Scanners will recalibrate. Zeltak tapped the data slate beside him. Volkov Irina. Former Spetsnaz. Earthborn. Life sentence for war crimes. Multiple confirmed kills, military and civilian. He smirked. A legend among savages. They call her Baba Yaga? A junior officer, barely out of training, shifted uncomfortably. Sir, that's a Terran myth. A boogeyman. Zeltak didn't respond. He turned to the viewport. Below, the jungle glowed like a coiled serpent under cloud light. The drop zone was chaos. Pods burned into the jungle, tearing through trees. Alien convicts scattered, scrambling for cover. A 6-limbed Zarati tackled a rival to steal their boots. A human named Griggs found a sharp branch and stabbed a reptilian inmate through the throat before vanishing into the underbrush. In the chaos, no one noticed the silence where Irina had landed. No one saw the precise cuts in her pod, removing the tracker and transponder. No one heard the soft crunch of her boots on moss as she vanished into the trees. Night fell fast on Karzak 3. Bioluminescent plants shimmered blue. Predators stirred. 2 alien inmates huddled beneath a fallen log, whispering about ghosts. You hear that? One said. Just wind. Then a scream tore through the jungle. Short, guttural, silenced quickly. The prisoners froze. Another sound followed, impossible to place. Not footsteps. Not breathing. Just presence. One inmate bolted. The other stood paralyzed, staring into the dark. A figure passed behind him, silent as fog. Glimpsed only in outline, a silhouette against moonlight. Female. Human. Then nothing. On the command deck, Zeltak leaned forward. "Something's wrong," he muttered. "Sir? The human. Volkov. She's been offline for 7 hours. Her zone is dead silent. But drones report motion. Patterns. Disturbances." He gestured to the hologram. Multiple patrols had gone dark near pod #9A's projected landing site. No signs of conflict. Just disappearance. "No signs of infighting?" Zeltak asked. "No, Commander. They're hiding." Zeltak narrowed his eyes. "From what?" Just before dawn, a Dominion scout team entered Sector Delta, a dense stretch of fungus-covered terrain. They moved cautiously, weapons drawn, searching for signs of surviving convicts. They found one. A Grell prisoner, tied upside down from a tree with his own restraints. Mouth gagged with moss. A message carved into his chest in flawless Varn script. "I'm awake." The squad leader vomited. One private tried to run. A tripwire snapped. A sharpened branch launched from the undergrowth impaled him through the throat. Panic erupted. From somewhere deeper in the trees, a whisper. "Run." Zeltak stood frozen, rewatching the feed. He zoomed in on the body, on the message. One word. "I'm awake. Get me orbital scans. Thermal imaging. Deploy aerial drones." The junior officer hesitated. "Commander, this wasn't a riot. It's coordinated. She has no weapons. She doesn't need them." Another scream. Another vanished patrol. And then, across several prisoner comms, the same chilling message played over static, a low female voice. "The forest is mine now." They had laughed at Terran criminals. But now, they whispered a name, across frequencies, across languages. Not as a joke. Not anymore. Baba Yaga. She had landed. And the hunt had begun. Morning came reluctantly to Karzak 3, filtered through a thick canopy of toxic mist and twitching leaves. Light here was never clean. It arrived in slivers, strange and pale, as if the jungle itself resented illumination. Commander Zeltak hadn't slept. His eyes were bloodshot, fixed on the flickering screens in front of him. Most displayed static. A few caught snippets, infrared blurs, snapped branches, an occasional scream before silence resumed. "Status on Sector Delta?" he asked without turning. "3 drones lost," said Lieutenant Rose. "Scout Team Bravo failed to check in. Last visuals showed one of them climbing a tree. Then he just fell. Or was dropped." Zeltak exhaled slowly. "And the human? No visuals. No heat signature. No movement." He tapped the screen. "She's not hiding. She's hunting." Deeper in the jungle, Irina Volkov crouched beneath a tangle of roots, wrapping a strip of salvaged metal in cloth. A crude blade, but effective. Nearby, a severed drone lay gutted, its black box sparking in silence. Her eyes flicked upward. 2 alien prisoners, a Frelik and a Kaltun, moved through the brush in opposite directions, circling each other. The Frelik lunged first. The Kaltun spun and grabbed a fallen branch, swinging wildly. Irina stepped between them like a shadow. The branch never landed. She caught it mid-swing, twisted the Kaltun's wrist until he dropped it, then swept the Frelik's legs out with a single movement. They lay stunned, breathing hard. She didn't speak. Instead, she dropped a packet of Varn military rations at their feet, then stepped back and used a stick to draw a rough map into the mud. 3 dots, 1 X. A trap site. The alien stared at her, confused. She pointed at the X. Then vanished into the trees. On the command deck, surveillance drones fed back partial images. Someone was disassembling them with surgical precision, removing only cameras, leaving the flight modules intact to avoid alerts. Whoever's doing this, said Rose, knows our systems. Zeltak nodded. She was military. Terran Black Ops. We underestimated her. The words sat heavy in the room. By nightfall, the jungle changed. Convicts who once fought for dominance now whispered and stayed close to each other. Camps were no longer rival factions. They were tight, terrified clusters. Rumors spread fast. She doesn't sleep. She doesn't kill for fun. She kills to send messages. They spoke of traps too complex for improvised work. Trees rigged to fall, spikes placed to collapse paths, and one squad of inmates that vanished entirely, except for their boots, neatly lined up in a row. Irina moved like smoke. Her allies, now four, 2 Terrans, the Kaltun, and a wiry insectid named Krax, followed her without question. She didn't ask for loyalty. She earned it with results. That night, they struck a Varn patrol ship attempting to land supplies. She had watched its descent for 2 hours, mapping landing vectors, guessing terrain compensation. When it touched down, she was already inside its perimeter. First, the noise traps, metal cans tied to vines scattered like breadcrumbs. Then came the flare, reflected in a puddle to draw guards away. Then the gas, spliced from the drone's coolant chamber and ignited in a cooking pot with fungal spores. The crew never knew what hit them. By the time Dominion Command saw the footage, Irina and her crew were gone. So was the ship. Zeltak reviewed the report with shaking hands. How many losses? He asked. 8. All trained Dominion soldiers. No survivors. And the ship? Disabled. Weapons stripped. Beacon removed. He stood in silence. Then, begin orbital denial. If we can't extract our own, we deny her supplies. Burn the drop zone. Start with Sector Theta. A pause. Rose swallowed. Sir, we have 24 prisoners still alive down there. They've already chosen their allegiance. In the jungle, flames erupted. Trees cracked and fell. Smoke thickened the already choking air. The sky turned red. Irina watched the blaze from a cliffside, expression unreadable. Cracks chittered, antennae twitching. They burned their own now. Irina didn't answer. One of the humans, McCall, spat into the dirt. They want to kill us all just to be rid of you. Irina finally turned. Her eyes, cold and clear, met his. They always did. I just gave them a reason. Hours later, she crept through the ashes, face wrapped in cloth, eyes behind scavenged Dominion goggles. The burned-out remains of a Varn forward camp smoldered. She found a comms unit intact. Flipping it open, she recorded a single message. A whisper. A warning. To Commander Zeltak. You sent wolves to hunt the dark. But you forgot, the dark bites back. She sent it. 10 seconds later, the comms lit up in alarm. Static. Then silence. She was already gone. Back on Justice Rand, the message arrived mid-briefing. Zeltak stared at the waveform, then at his officers. No one spoke. The myth was no longer myth. She had a voice now. And it was speaking directly to him. He leaned forward and muttered, "This ends now." But even he didn't believe it. Smoke clung to the jungle like a second skin. Trees still crackled, limbs falling like broken bones, but Irina Volkov moved through it without pause. Ash dusted her skin. Her breath was shallow and controlled beneath a salvaged rebreather. She'd seen scorched earth before. In Chechnya. In Dakar. In the Baltics. War never changed. Only the uniforms. Behind her, Krax and McCall picked their way through the ruin. The Kaltun, Kesh, followed in silence. The fourth member, Rix of the Frelick, was gone. Killed in the night by one of Zeltak's orbital strikes. Nothing left but a twisted foot, hanging in a snare. Irina hadn't spoken since they buried the remains. Now she stopped at a clearing, knelt, and drew into the dirt. A pattern. Interlocking arcs, Varn patrol routes, estimated drone coverage. You plan like you've got a battalion, McCall muttered. Irina didn't look up. Don't need one. Just need timing. Cracks tilted his head. Why not run? Hide deeper. Moon's big. Irina met his compound eyes. I don't run. He brought this fight here. Now I take it to him. They nodded. No one asked who he was. Everyone knew. Up in orbit, Commander Zeltak studied the flame maps. The satellite heat grid showed large sections of the jungle blacked out, burned or obstructed. But one area pulsed with irregular readings. Cold zones moving where nothing should be alive. He pointed. She's here. Sector 4. Rose hesitated. That's near the crash site. She's salvaging equipment. Let her. The more she gathers, the more she exposes herself. Another officer entered. Sir, we've intercepted a message. A survivor. One of our own. The screen lit up. A young Varn private, blood smeared across his armor, eyes sunken and wild. She let me go. She wanted me to speak. Said her name was Irina. Human designation Baba Yaga. Zeltak's jaw tightened. She hunts at night. Leaves symbols. She walks between traps like she built the planet. We shoot, she vanishes. We listen, we hear her breathing. Behind us. She's not a soldier, sir. She's something else. The feed ended. The next night, Irina launched the first coordinated assault. She'd mapped the supply route over 3 days. The patrols rotated every 8 hours, and Varn drones were predictable, moving in wide arcs with built-in delay between sectors. She waited in a collapsed ravine, crouched behind a downed tree thick with lichen. Cracks had strung broken wiring across the path. Kesh and McCall covered the exit with makeshift spike traps camouflaged with soot and bone. The convoy appeared on time, 2 armored walkers, a hovering skiff. Irina waited. The lead walker triggered the tripwire. Nothing obvious happened. The driver hesitated. That's when Irina threw the thermal flare. The sudden heat spike fooled the skiff's autocannon, which opened fire on its own escort. In seconds, metal tore into Varn alloy, and the path exploded in confusion. Irina moved. She hit the flank, slid beneath the walker, and planted a salvage charge against its fuel node. 6 seconds later, fire bloomed. McCall took out a fleeing officer with a sharpened steel pipe. Cracks sliced the rear pilot's throat with insectal speed. It was over in less than a minute. Irina stood in the smoke, listening for more. None came. She turned to the others. Grab what you can. They'll send more. Words spread faster than the fire ever had. In other sectors, convicts whispered it. She'd taken a Dominion convoy with 4 people and junk weapons. Others began moving toward her zone. Kaltoon survivors. A blood-slick Yeriek. Even 2 humans from rival tribes. None came to challenge. They came to follow. For the first time since the drop, the prisoners had something that wasn't fear. They had belief. Zeltak received the report with quiet fury. 17 soldiers. Gone. He didn't scream. Didn't strike the table. Instead, he entered his private chamber, stared at a wall of honor medals, and activated a hidden compartment. Inside was a blade. Not Dominion issue, Terran design. Taken from a dead human during a border skirmish years ago. He ran his fingers across it. They think she's a legend, he said aloud. Then I'll show them what breaks legends. He gave the order, I'm going down. Deploy Alpha Command Squad. Prep ground insertion. Rose blinked. Sir, the jungle is barely navigable. Extraction risk is... I didn't ask for odds. I asked for a team. On the jungle floor, Irina stood at a ridge overlooking a Varn landing site. 10 Dominion drop ships. A full squad of elite guards. Zeltak among them, now walking the jungle as if it were his court. She watched through scavenged lenses. Her breathing slowed. Her pulse steady. He'd come in person. Good. She turned to McCall. Tell Cracks. Start the torch pattern. McCall raised a brow. Are we? She cut him off. We're ready. He just doesn't know it yet. That night, Zeltak's encampment shook. Explosions rang out. Traps detonated in erratic patterns, no symmetry, no rhythm. Designed not to kill, but to confuse. Flares fired into the air, illuminating nothing but empty trees. Then movement, too fast to track. Figures in the dark. Weapons stolen, armor stripped, voices whispering in broken Varn dialect. A body dropped into the center of the camp. Eyes gouged. Tongue cut. A symbol carved into its chest. A crude human letter, Y, for YAGA. Zeltak drew his blade, hands shaking just enough to betray the truth. He was afraid. And Irina watched from the trees, eyes glinting in the red firelight, waiting for her final war to begin. Karzak 3 had gone quiet. Not the peaceful kind, this was the silence after a scream. Smoke still curled from the Varn encampment where blood had soaked into moss. Irina crouched in the shadows, one hand wrapped tight around her knife hilt. The stolen Varn blade at her back rattled softly as she adjusted her weight. Below, Zeltak barked orders to his command squad. 6 remained. The others were dead, vanished, or had run without looking back. Double perimeter. Scan every 50 meters. She's here, he said. He didn't say her name. He didn't have to. Irina watched them set up motion sensors, lay overlapping fields of fire, and dig in. She noted gaps in their fields. Crosstalk delays. The tension in their shoulders. They were prepared to fight an army. But not her. She slid back into the trees, wordless, soundless. Half a click east, McCall and Cracks worked in near darkness. Kesh was already gone, body shattered by a proximity mine the night before. No war ends without a cost, Irina had told them. Cracks whispered. You think she's coming back? McCall didn't answer. He just tightened the wire on a shaped charge. She always came back. Zeltak paced the edge of the camp, jaw clenched. No drones. No gunships. Just her, he muttered. Rose, barely conscious and bleeding from the shoulder, croaked from where he lay. She's already in the camp. Zeltak ignored him. From the forest edge, a rock clattered. One of the guards turned. Too late. A snare snapped upward, dragging him into the canopy. A second scream cut short by a blade. Blood rained down like dew. Then a voice, calm, female, near the command tent. I warned you. Zeltak spun, blade drawn. Show yourself! He backed toward the fire pit, eyes searching. You want to end this, human? Then come. The fire crackled. A breath of wind. And then she stepped out. Irina didn't rush. She walked slow, deliberate. Her face streaked with ash, goggles gone, eyes sharp as glass. The blood on her coat wasn't hers. The Dominion guards raised weapons. She didn't flinch. Zeltak lifted a hand. Stand down. The weapons dropped. He stepped forward, meeting her gaze. You think you've won? I don't think, she said flatly. I finish. He charged. He was faster than she expected. Age hadn't dulled him. The Dominion blade whistled toward her head. She ducked, pivoted, drove a knee into his side. He grunted, reversed grip, and slashed. She felt the blade graze her ribs. Pain flashed, but she didn't stop. Her knife caught his wrist. Twisted. He slammed his head into hers. Stars burst across her vision. They broke apart, circling. You were a tool, Volkov. He spat. A weapon someone else forged and forgot. Irina smirked, blood on her teeth. No. I forged myself. You just gave me a reason to sharpen the edge. He lunged again. She let him close, feinted left, then buried her knife in his thigh. He howled, staggered back, and swung wild. She dodged, then swept his legs. He fell hard. Before he could recover, she knelt on his chest and drove her elbow into his throat. Yield, she said. He coughed, choking. You'll never leave this moon. I don't want to. He sneered, even pinned. Then what's the point? Irina leaned close. You came to kill a monster. Instead, you fed it. She stood, yanked the blade from his leg, and left him bleeding. She walked through the shattered camp. No guards tried to stop her. McCall and Cracks emerged from the trees, weapons lowered. Is it over? McCall asked. Irina looked toward the burning command tent. For now. They started walking. Others followed, convicts, survivors, some wounded, all silent. No one spoke of victory. There was no anthem, no celebration. Only breath and footsteps. The jungle had swallowed their war. And it was hungry for more. 3 days later, a Dominion dropship hovered over Karshak 3's north ridge. Marines in sealed suits moved in pairs, rifles raised. They found Zeltak tied to a tree, stripped of his armor. A symbol carved into the trunk above his head, a skull inside a triangle. Next to him, a single sentence burned into bark. She walks free. Weeks passed. In a classified Dominion debrief chamber, a panel reviewed the footage. Varn officials argued, blaming equipment failures, biological anomalies, even insubordination. One Terran ambassador sat silently. When the room fell quiet, he stood. You sent men to fight a story, he said. And you gave that story teeth. One admiral scoffed. It was one human. One. The ambassador nodded. Exactly. He turned and left. In the shadows of a nameless jungle on a different moon, a small group made camp. No broadcasts. No trackers. Just silence and firelight. Irina sat alone, sharpening her blade. McCall approached. You could have gone with them. Amnesty. A clean record. Irina shook her head. They just caged me again. He nodded. What now? She glanced at the stars overhead. They'll send others, she said. New uniforms. New names. Doesn't matter. McCall stared. And us? She finally looked at him. They can come looking. But they'll never find us. And somewhere deep in the void, her name passed from whisper to myth. Baba Yaga. The one who walked free. And watched from the dark. Waiting.